You want to change the world? We don't have to physically go out and physically change the world first. First, we have to change our belief about the world, our belief of who we are in the world. We're not victims, but we've been programmed to believe we're frail, vulnerable, that we're victims of the world. And the fact is, no, we are the most powerful beings and entities on this planet. We want to get out of the box? Think out of the box, and that will change all of it. About 60% of the downloaded programs, behaviors that are in that subconscious are disempowering or self-sabotaging or limiting beliefs we acquired from other people.
Did you say 60%?
60, which is more than 50.
Why is there so many limiting programs? Why does that happen? Why don't we have 90%, positive programs?
Because the programming came from people who know that's how you take power of people. If I program you, I have power over you, okay? And the first powers came from simply this. Humans are the only organism that know that they're going to die. No other organism knows it's going to die. Well, this is a stress. Like, oh my God, my life will end. And that freaks out a lot of people. And that whole thing is then the fear of dying. And fear is when you look for somebody to help you get over the fear. If you're in fear, you don't look for yourself. You're the one that's the victim, more or less, and you're looking for somebody to help.
I feel like a lot of people are overwhelmed, stressed, and anxious, and are in fear based around the topic of money. They don't understand 100%. It. They don't have enough of it. They don't know how to manage it. They don't want to lose it. All these different fears. What do you think are the core differences, different beliefs between someone who is wealthy or in an abundance with money versus someone who is financially poor and struggling with money?
This is the whole subject of a very important book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And it goes back to everything I said. It's the programming in the first 7 years of your life that you're going to run that life from. The program is observing other people. If your father was well off and well-to-do, then you unconsciously downloaded the behavior to manifest what he was manifesting. But if you come from a poor family and all you talk about is struggle and we can't get there and it's so hard and life is trouble and blah, 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 you downloaded that one. I say, so most of us did not come from the rich family one, okay?
Right.
And that means most of us do have a concern about, what if I don't have the money? I can't get health care. I can't get food. Where am I going to sleep? Homeless people, where do they come from? And so the significance about all this is, if you're concerned about the money, you're concerned about the fact that your programming said you're not successful, that you're not going to make it. This is a rat race. That's Darwinian theory, which has screwed us big time because it's false. And it was based on Darwinian theory. It's a struggle for survival based on competition. Winner-loser competition, And so that is completely not the drive force of evolution. It's actually the 180 degrees opposite drive force. Give a simple point. A garden is not a battleground. By definition, a garden is everybody's cooperating. Then we come into the garden, evolve, and then guess what? We turned it into a battleground. And guess what? Now we're facing an extinction because we're destroying the ecosystem that provides for us. So the point was this. Battleground was never built into the system. It was acquired. People seeking power over each other, and it started with force. The first power is force. You don't want it my way? Now you do it my way. And that was the first power that came in. And people are living under a misbelief that life is a struggle. And if they don't go out there in that rat race and compete like all the other rats out there, they're going to not make it. So guess what? Everybody's out on a, competition bent. And the unfortunate part, here's a sports person, sir. The definition of competition is not the one we're using today. That's an inaccurate definition. The way we look at competition, that's a winner-loser conflict. Whether it's two sports teams, winner, loser, whatever it is. Okay. But no, the original definition of competition, to strive together.
Really?
What does that mean? It says, you want to be a tennis player? Don't play the weaker person. You're not going to learn anything from him. Play the more powerful person. Why? It's a competition, but what was the point? I'll do better if I learn by playing from the better player than if I learn from the weaker player. So
Right.
that kind of competition isn't winner loser. Both people win. The guy who's better won the game. The other guy wins. Why? Now I got better, technique. So we live in a winner-loser competition, which leads to violence and struggle and war and all that other like that. Not recognizing evolution says, get back into the garden, man. Why?
Right.
Everything is cooperating in the garden. We are not.
Right.
Yeah.
What would be the reprogramming that you would share with someone who grew up like a majority of people, maybe, who didn't have like the wealthiest parents, and they were programmed that, money is the root of all evil, or it's hard to make money, or we never have enough to buy what we want?
Well, that's the negative programming. That's the one that keeps you poor all the time.
What would be the new script to reprogram, and how effective would it be for someone to do this right before they go to sleep with the new script?
Well, anything that you put in your mind consciously before you go to sleep is still lingering in there as you go to sleep. So it's like fomenting inside. Mm-hmm. Okay. I think that the very first thing is this. Even before the money, I said, what was the first one? I said, you have to love yourself, because that means you will take care of yourself. And people don't love themselves. They don't take care of themselves. And you know that. You've seen people physiologically fall apart in front of your face because they don't take care of themselves. Why?
They make poor choices with their nutrition or working out or
everything's not relevant. Yeah. But if they have a pet, oh man, my pet's going to get the best food. My pet's going to get the best health care. I'm going to, take care of this pet. Do they take care of themselves? Not as good as they take care of the pet. Right away, there's your problem. So number one is, first, identify you love yourself, because then everything you do after that will be supporting your love. Uh-huh. Okay. Uh-huh. Then deservability. I do not deserve. Why? Well, that's when I was programmed. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not wealthy enough. I'm not beautiful enough, whatever. I go, you better start programming. I deserve X. I deserve Y. Okay. Not I will deserve. I deserve.
Right.
Again, I just want to emphasize that, because any futurism in a subconscious mind doesn't work, because subconscious doesn't see future. It just sees the moment. Mm-hmm. So if you record, I will be wealthy, I will be healthy. I say, when's that going to happen? I go, well, put it in the record. Come back next year, Lewis, and let's push the button. And it says, I will be healthy. I go,
you're still not there. Yeah.
Can't get there, because I never said you were there. You're only in a want. You can't get there. So the idea is, that's why everything, go back to, it has to be in the present tense. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am this, and I am lovable. So that's really important. That's if you don't do that right, then, but you can always reprogram. That's the beautiful part.
Sure.
I screwed it up. Well, then reprogram it again. You can do it.
How important is it for people to learn to heal the past then, so that they can love themselves in the now, as opposed to be taught?
To heal the past?
Yes.
You will automatically start doing that when you start loving yourself. People think you die and go to heaven. I go, no, you were born into heaven. Why? What's your vision of heaven? Well, here it is. You're the creator. Manifest it. Oh my God, we can manifest heaven. I go, people fall in love. They all of a sudden feel, yeah, that's heaven. That was really great. I go, well, you manifested that. And all of a sudden I realize, oh my God, people are so lost thinking, well, if I just be okay, I'll have heaven when I'm dead. And I'm going, no, I think you missed it, folks. This is heaven. If you understand how to get out of the program, then you become the manifester of the program. Then heaven is a way of life right here, right now, for all of us. When we grow up, and especially important in regard to health, most people, I just say most families, when somebody's sick, they go to the doctor. Okay, I go, great. So you're a kid, you see mommy go to the doctor, daddy goes to the doctor, and then you go to the doctor. I say, why are you going to the doctor? And the answer is, it's about your health. I say, yeah, but what's the point? You ready? You don't know anything about your health, but they do.
Right.
So all of a sudden you seek their advice. And I go, well, then their words become your truth, because you have no other truth but what they said. And all of a sudden, then you become a victim in your biology, according to the program. because the program said your life is controlled by genes. I go, so what does that mean? I go, well, as far as I know, I didn't pick them and I can't change them if I don't like the character. And they turn on and off by themselves. Victim, what? Heredity. I got genes. It's not my life. It's my genes. And
right. If my grandparents had a heart attack, then I'm susceptible to this, and onward and onward.
Exactly. And cancer, it's like, oh, I got cancer running in the family. Oh, there must be genes. And then the genes, and when I get that gene, I'm going to get cancer. Then I'm the victim. And fear, it goes on and on and on, except for an interesting fact. There is no gene that causes cancer. There's not one gene that causes cancer. Cancer is associated with a disharmony. And so let's say especially for women, they're very much concerned about the breast cancer gene, BRCA gene. The only thing is 50% of the women that have the breast cancer gene never get cancer. I say, so what's the meaning of that? I say, possession of the gene doesn't cause cancer. It's the lifestyle that's in disharmony that causes the cancer. The gene just supported it. And now we know 90% of cancer comes from people who have no cancer in their family.
Interesting.
Well, then where'd the cancer come from? Lifestyle is manifesting cancer. And you can change your consciousness and you can change cancer. But people believe they're victims. And
right.
If you believe you're a victim, you give up your power. Remember that. Victim means I have no power. And then I say, well, who has power? Well, over my spirit, the church has the power. And they tell me what to do. Over my health, the medical doctor has the power. They tell me what to do. And my life becomes shaped by those opinions. They're not even mine. And this is the point. It's like, well, when do you think you're going to become powerful? And I go, well, how about when you find out you are a spirit and you can never be disconnected from source? Nobody can disconnect you from source. There's no such thing as hell, know, and health. What do they know? In fact, in the United States, the third leading cause of death in the United States is called iatrogenic illness. First is heart disease, second is cancer, and third is result of medical treatment, iatrogenic illness.
Interesting.
So medicine is the third leading cause of death. I would, consciousness, I go, maybe I shouldn't follow their prescriptions so much.
Right. I'm curious, Bruce, how many people in the world do you think are victims? What's the percentage of people that you think live in victimhood?
I'd have to say 90% or more.
Really?
At every level, I'm a victim of what? Well, my job. If I don't do what they said, then I lose my job. I don't have a job. I don't have any money. I don't have any health care. I don't have any money. And all of a sudden you start to realize, well, then where do I get the money? And then you better start conforming to whoever's going to give you the money. At some point, you're not living your life. You're living the program that you think you need to do to fit into the picture. And if you live the program, it's almost all disempowerment. I can't do this. Right. This won't happen. I can't, whatever. I'm a victim. And victims, by just saying that, the word is powerless. Victim and powerless, same word.
Right. And what do you think the differences are then between the conscious and the subconscious mind? And I know you've mentioned that.
That's the game. That's the most important whole question you just asked there right now, Louis, for this reason. The subconscious, I said, is the equivalent of a hard drive on a computer. It can run the show. You push start, it could do things. You don't have to even attend to it. It does it by itself. The conscious mind is the equivalent of who's typing on the keyboard, because you're the one that's putting information into this thing. The conscious mind, and here's the important part. Let's just start with this. The mind is controlling our biology. That's a fact. And I go, but when you say the mind, it sounds like, oh, there's one mind. I go, now that is where it goes wrong, because there are two minds, and they both have different functions. And most importantly, they learn in different ways.
What are the two minds?
Well, let's start with the latest evolution. Right behind your forehead is a lump of brain called prefrontal cortex, the seat of self-consciousness. I am an individual. I am separate from all other individuals. I am a self, and I'm coming from this creative part. The subconscious mind, as we mentioned, that's just a hard drive with programs in it. So I say, so what's the difference between it? Well, first thing is this. What makes humans so different than other organisms is the self-conscious or conscious mind, because it's creative. It has imagination. I could ask you right now, Lewis, I could ask you a question. I say, tell me what you want out of your life. Well, at that moment, you're going to think and you're going to say, I want this and I want that. And I go, well, that came from the conscious mind. Now it's creative. That has imagination. That has vision. And if you have a vision, you can then manifest a vision. You can't manifest a vision if you don't have a vision. So conscious mind sets up visions and what we want. But here's the point. This is the critical, the whole thing is on this one part right now, Lois, right here. And that is this. The conscious mind, which is the creative mind, versus subconscious mind, which is the habit mind. It does habits, as does is program. Program's a habit. Push the button, play the program, push the button, play it again, push it, plays it again. Okay, program. Conscious mind creator. Okay. And I go, okay, significance of that is that's where your wishes and desires are. What do you want? Oh man, I want this. I want a great relationship. I want a great job. I want great health. Creative. The subconscious mind programs primarily derive from other people before age 7. Okay. And unfiltered. So there are good programs and there are bad programs. Okay. And I go, so creative conscious mind is the one that gives you a destination and a future. Subconscious mind just gives you autopilot. Okay, back to the crux of the problem. Only 5% of the day is the conscious mind actually engaged in creating. And I go, then what's it doing 95? I get 95% of the day, it's thinking. I go, so what does that mean? I go, imagine your body's a vehicle, steering wheel, conscious is holding the wheel and driving us to where? Wishes and desires, man. Okay? I say, but if I start thinking, then conscious mind is no longer looking out, because thinking is inside. It's a thought on the inside. I said, well, if you're thinking, then conscious mind is not looking out. I go, well, what if you're driving the car and then you start thinking? I go, conscious mind, let go of the wheel. I said, oh my God. I go, don't worry. Why? Subconscious mind is autopilot. Whatever you're not controlling with your conscious mind, subconscious mind throws a program in and does it. Okay. Now, the issue about that is, well, if the conscious mind is thinking, is it observing what's going on? I go, no, to observe what's going on, it has to look out the window. It can't be looking inside. So 95% of the day, it doesn't even observe your own behavior. I said, but where's that behavior coming from? I go, the program. I go, but yeah, but where did that come from? I go, somebody else. And I go, what's relevant? Well, if they didn't put your wishes and desires into their life, then you copy their program. You're not going toward your wishes and desires. You're going to wherever their program is going to. That's how children follow in the footpaths of their parents, especially like musicians. A musician who's a parent during the programming of their own child instills them with all the music and stuff like that. Then a child grows up and guess what? Now they're a musician. People say, the music gene. I go, there's no music gene. There was training for 7 years, training to be that. So the issue is 95% of our life is not coming from wishes and desires. It's coming from programs which came from other people, and you don't see it when it's happening. And I go, why not? And I said, why are you playing a program? Because I'm not paying attention. I go, well, that's why you don't see the program. And I go, and then 95% of your life is program. And then the relevance about that is 60% of those are disempowering or self-sabotaging or limiting beliefs. So it says, then 95% of the day you're running your life and you're the only one that doesn't see it. I go, well, that's the big issue. I go, the same story for 40 years. It's been in all my videos, but I got to do it again because different audience here.
Yeah.
You have a friend, you know your friend's behavior very, very well. You're really, good friends. And you happen to know your friend's parent. And one day you see your friend has the same behavior as their parent. So, you got to tell, hey, Bill, you're just like your dad. Back away from Bill. I know exactly what Bill's going to say all the time. Bill's going to say, how can you compare me to my dad? I'm nothing like my dad. The audience laughs. Why? They're familiar with it. I go, you want the profound story of the day? That's the profound story. I go, what does it mean? Everybody else can see that Bill behaves like his dad. The only one who can't see it is Bill. Explain it simple. Yeah. Bill downloaded these programs from his dad. Yep. When does he play them? When he's thinking. And I say, and how much of that? I say 95% of the day. I say, does he see the program? I say, no, thinking is inside. He's not looking out.
Mm-hmm.
So Bill's the only one that doesn't see it, and he got it from somebody else. And so it's not his behavior, and he could be sabotaging himself, and he's the only one that can't see it. Because why? Because he's thinking. And I go, okay, you ready? All of us are Bill.
Right.
All of us every day are Bill. We're playing the same programs. We look at life going, oh man, that's not what I wanted. This is not really good. And I go, where's this coming from? Well, those people are causing, this people are causing. I go, no, you're the creator. Didn't see what you were creating with. And when we get personal awareness of this, then personal empowerment is the next step, because now it's like, well, if I'm doing this, then I'm the one that can change it. And I go, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what the whole point is. And this is why all your programs, Lewis, are so involved with. Wake up, people. It's time to take the power back and become what you want to be in this life, because you don't realize you're playing programs that are sabotaging you all day long. And you don't see it. You're the only one. And
right.
So that's the big wake-up call. So it says, well, what can I do? And I say, well, you could just not play the program. And I go, that's not easy to do. That means you can't think. And
Right.
thinking is so fundamental to everything. So it's very difficult to say, I will stay mindful. That means I will not think. I will stay here in the present mind and pay attention to what's going on. I go, great, but it's very difficult to do that. So I say, well, if you're not going to stay mindful, then what else can I do? I said, well, then change the program. And if you change the program, then 95% of the day, if you put a program that's your wishes and your desires, then 95% of the day you will be manifesting that when the program is running, and plus an additional 5% when your conscious mind is running it. So that would be 100% of the day you would be moving toward wishes and desires. But you have to look at the program. That's why we announced. I say, what's the program? Look at your life. What do you want to change? What's not working for you?
So can you give me an example of, maybe you've worked with a lot of people in the last, many decades who have probably a lot of the same limiting thoughts, limiting beliefs that hold them back?
That's what culture is.
Right. What are the main limiting beliefs that you just hear consistently that most people tend to have if they're not in a higher level program that they've caught and switched with?
Well, one of the main beliefs that they're caught up in is the lack of power they feel over their own health and their own reality. That I'm a victim. I'm a victim of my genes. I'm a victim of this world out here. I say, if the belief system is translated into behavior. If I believe I'm a victim, then my behavior will be as a victim. No power. You guys tell me what to do, and I'll try and do what you just said. And I say, well, that's the biggest problem of all, because quantum physics, I mentioned, is the most valid science. And principle number one is you're the creator of this. And it's like, well, when are you going to own that? And the answer is, I could say it, but then you walk away and a few minutes later, you're back into your world again. Everything's gone. Listen, it took me a while. I learned and understood that, oh my God, this is how it works. And I was so excited. I wanted to get people, I wanted to tell anybody to listen to the science. This is how it works. So I beginning got some people together and I started to go off. Let me tell you how to create the most beautiful life experience. And then they'd look at me and they go, Lipton, for a guy who says this, your life doesn't look that good.
Interesting.
It was my wake-up call that said, how the hell can I talk about how wonderful this is and I'm not practicing it? And I immediately said to myself, no, don't go out there and talk to anybody about this. Why? Until you do it.
So what were the things that were holding you back before you discovered this? And then what was the new program that you started to implement for yourself on a consistent basis to have 100% upgraded program?
Yeah. Well, one of the things professionally, okay, I was doing a great job. I had a great professorship in a medical school, all that kind of stuff. Personally, my life sucked.
Really?
I couldn't get a relationship off the ground. I go, why not? I go, well, now that I know about it, I was programmed about relationships by observing my father and my mother. Well, they had dysfunctional relationships. So what do you think I downloaded? dysfunction.
Yeah.
So my conscious mind goes forward and says, yeah, I want to have a great relationship. I get into it. My subconscious mind steps up and says, so this is how we do a relationship. Ooh, uh-oh, game over,
Right.
Why? Because I didn't see the negative behaviors that I was putting out. My potential partner saw them and gave them cause for alarm. I don't think I want to be with this guy, that was me. And then I realized that, and that's when I really had to go in first thing and start to change. Who am I? And I'll tell you the biggest problem now after years of working, people do not love themselves.
Mm.
And I said, what does that mean? I said, if you have a program where you don't love yourself, then rationally, logically, can anybody else love you? And the answer is no.
Because you don't think you're lovable.
That's right. And somebody says you are, that, oh, I love you. And then you go, well, you probably don't have any quality control. I know I'm not lovable. What's wrong with you? And then at some point you push them away and then they're not there. And then you go, I'm not lovable. Nobody's here. I pushed them away, and I changed that. I was nearly 45 years old, 40 some years old. And I had zero quality relationships for all that life.
Right.
I changed the program. And within a couple of years, I'm now with my partner, Margaret. And the fact is, she was involved with a workshop training program for people. So she understood processing and stuff. And when I came and we added the science and the processing, we've been living a honeymoon for 26 years.
Really?
26 years waking up every day going, wow, still here. Another day for fun. Another day for being in love. It was great. And it still is. But if I didn't change the program, that would never have been part of my life at all. I would have been my whole life struggling.
How did you change it? And what was the thing that you started to say in replace of the previous program?
Well, the first thing was we do muscle testing. Now, you're an athlete, all that stuff, and you know about muscles. Well, let me just say about muscle testing. The conscious mind is a creative mind, and the subconscious mind is a program, but the subconscious mind, being a massive processor, controls muscles. The subconscious, not thinking, man, it's boom, it's just programmed real fast, reflexes, boom, like this, okay? So if you make a statement with your conscious mind, the creative mind, and the subconscious mind doesn't agree with that, there's no history to support that statement, then the two minds are not in harmony. I say, what happens when they're in disharmony? And the answer is it weakens the subconscious mind.
Wow.
And the muscles get weaker. So
how do we get them in harmony?
Well, you have to make sure then whatever statements you're making agree with the subconscious program. And if you want a statement that's positive and your subconscious program doesn't have it, then all of a sudden you say, well, that's where I got to fix the subconscious mind. I don't need to fix a conscious one. And that's when it comes back. Well, then programming that subconscious mind. Another one that was so amazing was I tried to write my biology belief book. I got to 3 different times. I got started, got about halfway through, and it just petered out. I just disappeared. And I was so upset because I really wanted to write this book. And then doing muscle testing, I found out that my subconscious mind did not support writing the book. I go, why not? And the answer was because I'm a scientist. And if I wrote the book, which had spirituality in it, I would lose my support from my colleagues. So my subconscious mind was saying, okay, that's enough. No more writing, because if you conclude this, you're going to be an outcast from your society.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I remember doing one of these balances, they're called 15 minutes or less. And in the process, part of the balance was, how do I want this book to be written now? Well, I said, I want it to be written fast because I wasted a lot of time. And I thought struggling over it was a pain in the ass. So I thought, maybe it should be fun. Okay. And so fun and easy, whatever it was, I balanced that. And I forgot about it because it was just 15 minutes and it was like, oh yeah, I should do something about that, blah, blah, blah. And months later, the book is done.
Wow.
And I remember reviewing it. It's going to go to the publisher. This is the final read, sending it to the publisher, get down to the last page, down to the last thing, get down to the last line. It's finished. And I pushed myself back in the chair and I said, wow, that was fast and kind of fun and it was easy. I said, holy, those are the words that I put in, which I completely forgot about. And I programmed my mind that way. And the moment I finished the book, I said, fast, fun, and easy. I go, holy, that was the program. And it was what took me off. But go back to the I love myself one, because I can tell you now for a fact, and being involved with so many belief change programs, over 80%, generally 90% of every audience will not test positive for I love myself. That's a very large number. And that means why so many marriages fall apart, because they never really connected. They were sort of like, on the surface, really nice, but their subconscious programs clash, boom, gone, It's not working. And then the idea is what? Well, let me give you a reason why. You're an athlete, so I know I can tell you right where that programming worked. And it goes like this. If a kid on a sports team is not doing well, the coach doesn't go, oh, please try harder. You could do better. I go, no, coach comes out there. That's not good enough. Who do you think you are? You're not worthy to be on this team, blah, blah, blah. And the player immediately in the conscious mind goes, oh my God, I better work harder and be better. Great. Now I say, what if the parent is acting as a coach and the kid is 5 years old? I go, why is that important? I said, they're not using the conscious mind at 5 years old. They're in record. And the parent said, that's not good enough. You don't deserve this. You're not lovable. Who do you think you are? I say, the child is not thinking about what the parent was intending. The child's recording. I'm not lovable. I'm not deserving. I'm not this. And I go, then 95% of your life is going to come from that program. And you see why you struggle. And why you don't love yourself, because the first thing, you'd be critical of yourself. I'm not good enough. I'm not this. I go, well, now you're self-critical. And the moment you're self-critical, you just cancel the whole game right at that point.
So what is this muscle balance test thing you were talking about? Is this
called muscle testing?
How do you do this?
Well, one very simple way. You can use any part of your body with muscles. I could push on your head. I could push on a finger. Usually it's done with an arm.
An arm. Yeah, push my arm down.
And the game is this. It's not arm wrestling. People think, oh, I say, no. The idea is this. You have to keep focus. You make a statement and you keep your mind on that statement. Difference.
Give me an example. Give me an example of like, I love myself.
I love myself. Okay. Hold out your arm. Point. If the conscious and subconscious agree the muscle is a rock, you could do chin-ups on that arm. Okay. But if the subconscious doesn't agree with the conscious mind, you say, I'm lovable, and the subconscious mind will give you all the reasons why you're not. Then guess what? Now the two minds are in disharmony, and now the arm will move. I say, well, how much does it move? I say, well, all you need to know is it moved that much. If it just moved that much, any more pushing or thing, now that's arm wrestling. It was, if they both agree, that's solid. That's not even going to move. But if the two don't agree, then just even the first downward movement like that says, that's it. You don't have to do any more.
You're talking about a lot of people are victims in the world. Why do you think so many people center their identity with being a victim? And why do you think they hold on to it so tightly when they know they could reprogram their beliefs and start living in accordance with a harmonious life and being the creator and manifester as opposed to the victim who is powerless?
Yeah. Well, I think the biggest thing, some people say, oh, yeah, you can change your life. And then they find it's very difficult. It's very hard. I go, why? Because they don't know how to push the damn record button. And so many of them are talking to themselves. I'm going to make Bruce, you do better. You just do better about this. You do better. And I go, okay, let's stop for a second. Who am I asking to do better? Oh, my subconscious. I go, oh, there's nobody in there. Who are you talking to? Nobody. I go, well, that's a big waste of time, man, because that's not where change comes from. They don't know how to push that button. If you don't know how to push the button, it's frustrating. And it says, oh, it's so much hard work to change. It's not easy. It takes time. These are belief systems. Why? Because they try and it doesn't work. I go, that's because they didn't know how to push the record button. So
Mm,
most people say, yeah, I can change, but it's not working. They said think positive, and I thought positive, and it didn't work.
it's not working. Yeah.
No, because the idea was you can think all you want, but the problem is while you're thinking, you're actually playing the negative program. So you could thinking about being positive is actually creating the negative problem because you're not paying attention when you're thinking about being positive. So this is a whole issue. People have a feeling that they can change, but they have no effort. They don't want to get in the game because they feel it's just too much time and it doesn't work, and I tried it and it didn't work, and then they give up, and then life just goes on. It's seamless. You don't see it. It's just the way you've been living it ever since 7 years old. You've been just living this program.
If someone had only said, you know what, I'm a victim, I've got too much going on, I don't have time to do these new program things you're talking about, the record button seems like too much work, it's exhausting, I've tried and started and stopped so many times with health, money, relationships, whatever it might be, and I'm a failure at all these things. If you could only give people a 5-minute thing to do every day, and you said just focus on this 5 minutes a day
Well,
to
that's
get
the
you
problem.
started,
Well, the
you
get you
know.
started is this. I think the first time is just for them to wake up long enough to hear, are you giving yourself positive vision of a future? Or you already canceled the future with negative things that you can bring up any
Right.
number of negative things. It's not going to happen because of X. Fill in X. You can put anything in there. It's not going to happen. I go, until you understand, oh my God, I am not thinking a positive thought in this process. Well, then if I'm not thinking a positive thought, then I don't want those other thoughts to manifest. And
Hmm.
that was a wake up call. I
Is there a place where negative thinking is a positive?
can't say it. Because it's a
Yeah.
delusion. It's a delusion. It's not the reality. A negative thinking, besides manifesting it as a reality,
Hmm.
it's only, and now you are manifesting. Well, that was when do you want to stop manifesting? I say, when you stop long enough to correct yourself. No, I don't want to think that. No, let me think something positive. Let me assure you something. A while back, I would have been what loosely called manic depressive. I'd be happy most of the time, and then something would go wrong, and then the next thing would go wrong, and I would go in a spiral, and then it got worse, and I get down and be totally depressed, giving myself self-talk, bad criticism, not smart enough, not good enough, whatever. And I was engaged in this was like a repetitive process. Once it starts, it's like, oh, here we go, it's going to go. And I was in my lab doing something, and it required so much work to get this done. And then there was the part where I prepared the experiment, then I'm going to run the experiment. It takes like 2 hours to prepare, and then I start to run it. And if you mess up a little bit, the whole thing goes to.
Hmm.
And so I did it the first time, went to crap, and it's like, oh God, it's got to spend 2 more hours putting it all back together again, weigh out all this stuff, do everything, get it ready. I ruined it the second time. Third time really pissed me off because now I've spent over 6 hours of the day repeating an experiment that never worked. And I got real mad at myself, and I went into that, you idiot, you can't do anything right. And it was cool. I was alone in the room, and I hear a voice just right out in front of me somewhere, right out there. And that voice says, don't you have anything better to do than to listen to this?
Wow.
And for a moment, I was stunned, like, I'm the only one in the room. It was my higher self
Mm.
looking at me, going through this and saying, don't you have anything better? And I laughed. That's kind of funny. I said, sure, I'd rather go see a movie. And there was a newspaper. I picked it up, found a movie, went to the movie, came out clear, no more depression, gone. Okay. The next time I started to go down, I remembered that, don't I have anything better to do? I started to laugh, immediately changed, just went and did something else, stopped. It was a choice. I could continue going back and forth with that, or the choice was do something else. And I did it. Guess what? After a number of times, not too many, I never got depressed again because the system
Really?
made a habit that if I would start in that direction, the habit was go do something else. And that has been now a valid part of my whole life. I carry nothing forward on this anymore. And this was like the freedom because it said, oh my God, I used to get so depressed hearing how bad I was, talking to myself about how bad I was. And now it's like, it doesn't exist anymore.
If you're living with yourself and you believe you're unlovable, then you're living with an unlovable self all day long, and you're going to be anxious, probably stressed, worried. What are people thinking about me? I'm not good enough. Other people don't think I'm good enough. I'm not going to be accepted. They're
And
going to
that's the
leave
conscious
me.
thinking mind.
Right.
And while you're thinking, what's running the show? The problem that you're
Subconscious.
thinking about.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
thinking about it. And while I'm thinking, now the problem is running while I'm thinking about it.
And as a cell biologist and researcher on science, what happens to our physical cells in the material world when the mind, subconsciously and consciously, is directing negative energy and thoughts towards it?
Self-sabotage. You are manifesting a life. Are you manifesting a positive life? Well, that's a choice. You want to manifest a negative life? That's a choice. But if you start manifesting, then the cascade consequences of that are going to manifest in the process. It's a choice. People don't believe it's a choice because they get so carried away with it without looking at themselves saying, hey, wait, this is a moment of choice. That's why that voice, it woke me up, took me out of this lifetime of that. Because once it said that, it was funny. It was so funny that anytime I started to go down, I started laughing and then stop. And then the point was, it's been years since I've had any anger issues at all.
Really?
Yes.
So you used to be a lot angrier, or used to be reactive.
Things weren't working.
Life.
I was more frustrated most of the time because things weren't working the way I wanted them to work. Now it's like, are you kidding me? I'm like this happy camper. Hey, I'm awake. Guess what? I have another day here, another day to experience. I have no idea what's going to happen. I send out some good things, and then good things come back. Great. This is a great life. This is not an accident. I know this from a scientific point of view because I'm very clear of my first 40 plus years with those programs that I got from my family, creating the problem that my family has. My brothers have cancer and like that, excuse me. But, I go, why? The same family, they just kept the programming of that.
So it's not genetic, it's programming.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
What are some daily affirmations you started to implement when you saw this depressed thoughts coming in, or these self-sabotage thoughts coming in? What did you shift it with affirmations, with different thoughts? What did you start to say?
It was just the awareness, that, as I said, the very first stop light where I started all of a sudden listen while I'm waiting for the light. It was like the first time I tuned in and go, what the hell are you thinking? That was the most important thing, because then the habit of not going there anymore, starting to realize, this is why am I thinking this negative thing? Turn around, make a positive statement right now, because that negative one is taking you on and just a repetition of this behavior become habitual. So, and habits are great. Why? No effort. I love habits. Why? You don't even have to think about them. They do it automatically, So if you put in these really great habits, you can walk through the day and think anything you want, do anything you want. And your habit, if they're good ones, will just guide you perfectly through here without even being involved with thinking. That's the game. The game is, what is heaven to you? Then program that's your life. And then guess what? The 95% of the day manifesting heaven while you're not even thinking about it. You can have all the thoughts you want, but until you start an action, they don't manifest. And that is the hardest part, because I can think, I'm going to be wealthy. I'm going to be wealthy. I say, what are you doing to get wealthy? No, I'm saying I'm going to get wealthy. I say, you didn't do anything. You got to do something to take the step to make it start. So it's like on idle, all our thoughts spinning, idling. Not till you throw it into gear is it going to manifest something. And this becomes really important, because how many people think, I'm going to plan this. This is what I want. Yeah, this is what I want. I go, when are you going to do it? You never started? It's not gotten off the ground. Even the plants in your room know that you're not going to do it.